Hi, I'm Michelle from Bits and Pieces Paper Lab, and I'm here today to share with you my Easter Shadow Box pop-up card. Now, one of the reasons that I love this card is because I love to make what I call super cards, really detailed, elaborate cards, but they're sometimes hard to mail because they're so dimensional that it's hard to send them in an envelope. But this one's cool because it is pretty dramatic. It stands on its own, has all these cool elements, but it actually folds flat for mailing. So I'm going to teach you how to make this today. And I am offering the cutting file for it for just $1. So you'll find the link to that down in the description, and that just basically helps cover the cost for you downloading it. But you can grab that over on my website, just follow the link. Now, this card was inspired by my great-grandmother. She had these shadow box eggs. I don't know what you call them, but they were made out of sugar, and she would pull them out each Easter. When I was a little girl, I loved to just like look in there and peek in there, and there was little icing flowers and little scenes. So this is inspired by that. There's lots of little layers, and when you look close, there's lots of little pieces in the background. So happy Easter, and let's go ahead and get started making this card. So the base pieces for this, when you cut them out, if you're using Cricut Design Space, you'll need to change the score lines back to score lines. For some reason, Cricut Design Space turns the score lines in an SVG into cut lines. So on the back piece, you'll see that there's score lines, 2 score lines on the side, and then also there's an egg-shaped score line. And I'll explain that again in a minute, but that is definitely intended to be a score line on the back piece. And then the center piece has 1 score line along each edge. And then of course you can see this is the cutout with the bunny. And then the top piece again has double score lines on the side. And on this one, you do cut out the egg. So this is layered up like this. You can see once I get it all assembled, so that the bunny shows through in the middle. And then from the top, you can see kind of how it's sandwiched together. But when you, after it's all glued, it's hard to do it now, but once it's glued, it actually will fold flat. So let's get ready and start assembling this. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that your top piece is scored. So the top one, if you kind of remember, it pops up as you're scoring it. You're going to accordion fold the edges, but you want that first fold to make it pop up. You can see what I mean. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to adhere the little scallop egg around the opening. Just get that nice sealed down. All right, so that is ready. And then you've got 4 flowers. So you've got 2 that are bigger and 2 that are smaller. So for perspective, you're going to put the bigger ones on the outside and the smaller ones on the inside, just because, you know, when you're looking at something, things farther away are smaller. The way we're going to do this is sandwich these little pieces into the grass, and that kind of gives them a little stability. So I'm going to put some glue here and adhere that there, and then I'm just going to make a sandwich. I'm going to put glue all over the back piece of the other piece of grass that identically matches it, and then sandwich it in. So I've got that little stem in there, and that just is going to kind of keep it nice and sturdy. I'm going to do the exact same thing with this one for the other side. Having some glue issues. I think I've got a blob in there. Let's see, let's do this one angled kind of like that. Now, one of the things I always recommend is after you cut out all your pieces, just kind of like dry assemble it without gluing anything, just so you kind of get a feel for where all the pieces go. I think it helps when you're doing the final thing to have that confidence. Okay, so those are sandwiched in there. And then we're just going to adhere these to the front of the little window. And they go against the bottom. And we'll just get this other one on here. All right, get that down tight. And then these 2 are for the next layer with the chocolate bunny. And now I'm gonna stick these guys on this second layer, and they can go right onto the brown layer. going to put them just a little higher up and sticking out like that. Because again, you're not really going to see the bottom of this because of the other layers of cardstock. Just kind of tip that in. I'm going to move on to the back piece. Now the purpose of this score line is that it helps me know what's going to show when the front is on. So it basically is a mimic of this opening, so I can see, you know, it makes no sense to put this clear over here because it's not going to show through the window. So it's kind of a guideline. So I'm going to start off by just putting my little, I don't know what you'd call these, like cattails or ferns or something like that, little flowers. And there is 2 of them. I want them to kind of, I'm literally gluing like a kindergartner today. I don't know what's wrong with my glue, but the good news is it will dry clear. So I think I have a big clog in there I need to take care of. All right, so let's do this other one. Maybe I'm going to move this guy up just a tidge and do this one. Oh my. Do this one just a little bit lower. And then the flowers, these remind me of like little icing flowers from fancy little Easter cakes. So I'm just going to kind of layer these along the background. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on this to kind of, okay. So back to the flowers, I want my flowers, I'm looking where that score line is, and I want them to kind of peek out from the edge of where the egg opening is. You can layer them however you want. I think I'm going to actually go a little higher on that one. Make sure I can see the score line. Okay, so I've added my little Easter sentiment to the top, and I just made sure that I put glue just only where I needed it, so it kind of stretches across the opening. And now we are ready to assemble the card. So the way to do this, you want to make sure that your score lines and your little folds are nice and tight here, nice and crisp. And you're going to place glue along. I'm going to just do one side at a time because you want to make sure that they're lined up exactly. And again, this is why I really like the liquid glue. Make sure that the scores are exactly lined up. So I'm going to just pinch that, hold that for a second. All right, and then we're going to do the other side. And the most important part to line up is score line to score line. So you want to make sure that the scores, even if the outside pieces aren't quite lined up, you need those scores to line up. So just double check that. Okay, pinch that down. And then I'm going to adhere the top on. Now I'm only going to do this outside flap. So the glue is going to go right along here, and that's going to attach to what's already there. And you're just going to sandwich the brown piece in there. I'm going to hold that so you can kind of see what that looks like. You pinch it down, make sure it's nice and sealed. All right, and then we're going to repeat that on the other side. Again, I'm going to make sure the scores are all lined up because that is the most important part. All right, now I'm a little afraid to do that yet. Let's not try to fold it yet, just in case the glue is not quite dry. So now I'm going to flip it over to the back, and in the file you have a little pocket, and you're just going to fold along the creases, along the score lines, and make a little pocket. Now this is going to hold the tag that you can write a sentiment on in the back of the card. So I'm going to place some glue on this. And I'm going to stick this down. Now, this piece is actually the inside of this scallop egg cutout. So this is going to be your tag. I thought, why should we waste that nice egg shape piece? So we pulled that out and we're going to use that for the tag on the back. It just slides right in here like this. You can write a little sentiment on it, and then whoever receives this card can pull out the little message. All right, so I think that's probably a hair down. So I wanted to show you what happens next. So this is the card, you know, fully open, and it actually will stand up, which is really cute. You can display it on a shelf. But to mail it, you just kind of shift everything to the right, and you might have to the first time kind of push it down just to help it lay flat, but it folds totally flat for mailing. And then when they get it, they'll be able to pop it back up. So that is our little Easter scene card. Now, what's so fun about these is, if you remember what I talked about earlier about my grandmother's little egg, but you have to like really peek in there to see all the layers. And that's what I love about this, is that it's got all these cute little layers. So that is my Easter shadow box pop-up card, and I hope you will make one for yourself, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments.